Meeting will please come to order, and we need a motion for meeting attendance by way of electronic device for Mr. Mitnick.
Motion is needed pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.2 to allow Board Member David Mitnick to participate in tonight's public hearing of the school board through electronic communication means from his residence due to a temporary medical condition that prevents his physical attendance at tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Mayo?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Story?
Yes.
Vice Chair Brooks Buck?
Yes.
Board Chair Byram?
Yes.
Motion passed.
And we'll pause just a minute until Mr. Mitnick joins with us. Can you hear us, Mr. Mitnick?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Buck?
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Buck. And this evening, we are here to hear from citizens who have comments on the renaming of Pioneer Elementary School. And at this time, I'll call on the clerk, Ms. Gardner, to read our directions.
It is the intent of the school board to ensure that the affairs of the board be conducted in an open and orderly manner, that all persons desiring to address the board are afforded an opportunity to do so. Any persons addressing the board shall confine their comments to matters germane to the business of the school board, refrain from words or statements which, from their usual construction and common acceptance, are construed as insults and tend to incite violence or breach of the peace. Refrain from obscenity, vulgarity, or other breach of respect. Comply with the time limit for public comments as set by the board, which can be up to 5 minutes, unless the board, through the exercise of its discretion, decides to allow less than 5 minutes for public comment. Refrain from cumulative or repetitive remarks, and refrain from making any comment regarding any pending student discipline or employee grievance matters. The appropriate forum for such matters is the applicable administrative hearing provided by state law or, where appropriate, court proceedings. The school board welcomes comments from the public as appropriate. Board members will listen to public comments but will not comment unless granted permission by the chair. The chairman or other presiding officer shall preserve decorum and shall decide all questions of public order subject to appeal to the board. At the request of the chairman, a city police officer shall act as sergeant at arms at all board meetings. That officer shall, under the direction of the chairman and other presiding officer, have charge of the board chambers, the board conference room, the waiting areas and corridors adjacent thereto, and the school administration building, and shall prevent disorder or interruption of the business of the board.
I think we have a list of letters that have been submitted to the clerk, and I will begin with the list. Lemuel Copeland.
To the School Board, City of Suffolk, Virginia. This letter is in support of the renaming of the Pioneer Elementary School to Southwestern Elementary School. I am a 1953 graduate of the Nansemond County Training Center School, NCTS, as were my 5 brothers. I was born and raised on the farm directly across the road from the school. One of my classmates was Enoch Copeland, a former Suffolk school principal, city councilman, and school board member. Our classmates consider our class to be arguably one of the most accomplished classes in the history of this revered institution. The attached document, Up from Slavery, recaps the accomplishments of all 22 members of our class. The Nansemond County Training School was the most revered institution in our community. The physical building itself was used for many community activities. The Parents League today's PTA was arguably the most influential organization in the community. Under the separate but equal doctrine, the hardworking principals, teachers, and staff at NCTS prepared its students to traverse the most stony roads and face the bitter chastened rods of that Jim Crow era and the inequalities that continue today. None of us feel stigmatized by the training school, label designation given to most rural Negro high schools of that area. I am not aware of the dynamics of the decision-making process involving the renaming of Nansemond County Training School to Southwestern High School in the early 1960s. While it is an academic issue at this point, I feel strongly at that time that the school should have been renamed the Hannibal E. Howell High School in honor of his service for 42 years. Mr. Howell had an unparalleled status in the community and as an educator through the state of Virginia. Another appropriate name for the school would have been the Little Fork High School, as it was known because of its location at the fork of what is now Leafwood Road and Southwestern Boulevard. While it is not realistic to suggest that the Pioneer School be renamed to give honor and recognition to Professor Howell or the defunct Nansemond County Training School, I strongly urge you to rename the Pioneer Elementary School to Southwestern Elementary School in recognition of the role it played in the education of African American cities of Southwestern Suffolk. Thank you for your courtesy and consideration. Lemuel Copeland.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. We have another letter from Joan Knight Marsh.
This letter comes in support of the Suffolk School Board changing the name of the Pioneer Elementary School to Southwestern Elementary School. This was the request of the advisory committee appointed around the time that the current school was being built. As many of you will recall, the recommendation of the advisory committee and the wishes of the community were ignored, and the Suffolk School Board gave the school its current name. Many years ago, when I was a student at the then Nansemond County Training School, the student body was corralled, and we were told that we could choose the new name for our school. With great enthusiasm, we students participated in the process and chose several names to be submitted to the powers that be. Neither name was selected. We would rather be told that the new name for our school would be Southwestern High School, period. It was an exercise in futility for us excited students, believing that we actually would have a voice in this very big decision. My second opportunity to participate in the naming of the school on Pioneer was when I was in contact with a then advisory member to offer a potential name for the school. My suggested name did not make the cut. Tonight, I make another attempt by suggesting that Southwestern is the renamed identity of this school in the Holland area. It is a name which is familiar and historical to the community. Please join me and my fellow citizens as we advocate to change the name of Pioneer Elementary School to Southwestern Elementary School. Thank you, Joan Knight Marsh.
And we have another letter from Jennifer McCoon.
Good evening. I am writing to you to express my opposition to changing the name of Pioneer Elementary School. I am not only a proud employee of Pioneer, but I am also a parent of two very proud Pioneer Mustangs. First, Pioneer was built to replace Southwestern and Robertson, combining students from different areas of the district. The school was not built as a replacement for Southwestern alone. Pioneer represents more than Southwestern. To name it Southwestern would ignore students from other localities. Secondly, since the school was erected in 2014, Pioneer Elementary School has taken the time to encourage pride in being a Pioneer Mustang. The students in attendance at Pioneer Elementary School only know themselves as Pioneer Mustang and deserve to continue to identify as Pioneer Mustangs. Third, changing the name of Pioneer will take away funding that should be used in other areas. I believe it to be an irresponsible decision to use funds that should be used to help educate our students to rename a school who has been for the past 6 years Pioneer Elementary School. Finally, this is a unique time for us. Any additional and available funds should be going to mitigating the spread and preventing the spread of COVID in our schools for the benefit of our teachers already in school and for when our students return. Money will need to be appropriated to change signage, to spirit wear, rebranding, among other things. I believe those funds can be used in a more beneficial way. In conclusion, I myself take pride in Pioneer, and I encourage you to not change the name of Pioneer Elementary School. Thank you for taking the time. Sincerely, Jennifer McCoon.
Thank you. And next, we have Maya Mercer.
To whom it may concern, in my knowledge as a Suffolk City resident and graduate of Suffolk City Public Schools, it is imperative that the school board maintains the integrity of its schools. This does not include the name of local institutions. Particularly, Pioneer Elementary School should be renamed Southwestern Elementary School. The return of the name encourages the city to remember its educational roots and cultural commitments. Supporting the city's mission and executing the best education to all its residents should be the main goal of the school board. I have a child myself that will one day join the educational legacy of this great city. I would like to hope that the school board will do the right thing in this matter. For any further discussion, please feel free to contact me by the information provided in my header. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Maya Mercer.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Adriana Foster.
Good morning. I'm writing this letter on behalf of the fact that I won't be attending the meeting tonight, but I feel like as I did go to Southwestern Elementary and graduated from there. I have a son that attends Pioneer now, and I know that the community wants to keep the school legacy alive, but why do we have to rename Pioneer to keep the legacy and it's not the same building? Southwestern was a great school, and the teachers there are amazing, but if Pioneer has replaced two schools, Robertson, out Willoughville, and Southwestern, why not keep the name we have for it now? It's not the same school, and the kids that go there now are already accustomed to the school name and mascot and take pride in the school. We can't just change the name for the sake of the community, keeping a legacy on something that's not even the same school or environment, in my opinion. I'm all for keeping history alive and a legacy, but why not honor Southwestern in a different way instead of changing a school name for the kids now that are attending the school? Adrian Foster.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. And next, Jessie Daughtry Ricks.
Hello, I'm emailing regarding the renaming of Pioneer Elementary School. I live at 3212 Holland Road, and my child was a student at Pioneer from 2015 to 2019. I am highly against changing the name of this school. It has been 7 years since this school was built and the name decided on. There were several people who sat on a committee to choose the name for this school, and they chose what was best. I asked you, what will the students who started Pioneer think of their school name changing? What will they look back on to show their school spirit and pride if the name is changed? Why is it that after 7 years we're even talking about changing the name? The school system has far greater things to improve on and spend money on other than rebranding a school that is perfect as is. Please don't let a small group of individuals change a lifetime of memories for the students who have come and gone as Pioneer Mustangs. Thank you, Jessie Daughtry Ricks.
Others that have signed up. Enoch Copeland.
Sit here or there?
Is that mic on? Oh, the other mic is on, I think.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, Byram, Dr. Buck, Vice Chair, other school board members, Superintendent Gordon, attorney, staff. My name is Enoch Copeland. I reside at 6225 Leafwood Road. I am a 1953 graduate of Nansemond County Training School. A small wooden little Falk school was destroyed by fire. In 1924, the black residents of the Holland community, with financial assistance from C.R. Roebuck, Nansemond County Board of Supervisors, and resident of the Holland community, built a brick school named Nansemond Training School. In 1931, the state of Virginia certified this school as a high school, with 4 students being awarded diploma with grades primer through 11th grades. In 1949, the Nansemond County School Board proposed to close Nansemond training and transfer grades 8 through 11 to the all-black East Suffolk High School. The parents of the Holland community organized to go to court and ask their high school children to attend instead the all-white Holland High School in the town of Holland. To satisfy the parents, Nansemond training was enlarged with grades 6 to 12 with an additional course curriculum and rezoning the school area to allow the Whaleville, Buckhorn, Savage Crossing, and adjacent areas to attend Nansemond training with no graduating students in the class of 1957 when they didn't have a graduating class. In 1964-65, Nansemond training was renamed Southwestern High School to rid the segregated name training. In 1970, Southwestern High School was closed and high school students assigned to Forest Glen and John F. Kennedy High Schools, with students becoming in that school. In 1988 to 1989, Lakeland and Nansemond River High Schools were opened, and Forest Glen, John Yates, John Kennedy, and Suffolk High School became middle schools, and Southwestern became an elementary school. And may I add, it also became a predominantly white school. The citizens of the Holland community fought for a school in the Holland community 22 years before the idea became a reality, thinking it would be a replacement school for Southwestern Elementary, only to be denied. My personal suggestion to the Whaleville Friends is that they need to propose a school in the Whaleville communities, and we need to bond together in helping them get this to become a reality. I say that because I was fortunate enough to marry a young lady from the Whaleville community 61 years ago, and I feel very personal to the Whaleville community. Do not allow the board to say that it's not appropriate because in their 10-year plan, because COVID-19 was not part of your plan either. So at this time, we ask you to rename the Pioneer School to Southwestern Elementary School. I thank you for your attention, and I think we would be wise to make the correction of something that make a just situation, an unjust situation, a just situation. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Next, we have Curtis Holland.
Good evening to all, and good evening to the chair, vice chair, and all of the members of the City of Suffolk School Board. I am Curtis Holland, a 1969 graduate of Southwestern High School. and I'm here tonight as spokesperson for Holland Lodge number 256, which is in the same community as Southwestern High School. We, the members of the Holland Lodge 256, stand before you this evening in support of a name change of Pioneer Elementary School to Southwestern Elementary School. Southwestern, a name of rich heritage from 1924 until 2014. Located in the Holy Neck Borough School, serves students in grades 6 through 12 from Whaleyville, Somerton, and Savage Crossing. Then Nansemond County Training School until 1964, when the name was changed to Southwestern High School. From 1970 until 2014, Southwestern has become intermediate and elementary schools, respectively. I served on the Farewell Committee and program for Southwestern, a historical marker, and it is being added to the National Registry of Historical Places on August 11th, 2004. We, the members of the Holland Lodge, adopted Southwestern and placed this school on its budget for over 12 years, and we continue to do so. We support them with tutors, career day speakers, cooks for SOL celebrations, and anything that they ask us for, backpacks, clothing. 60% of our membership has ties to Southwestern High School and elementary school. This heritage and continuation of history should continue with the name change to Southwestern Elementary School. This ends my plea to retain the integrity and rich history of Southwestern Elementary School. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Next, we have E. Rick Copeland.
To the school board chair and other school board members, my name is Rick Copeland, property owner in Suffolk. I attended Southwestern Middle School and a proud 1978 honor graduate of Forest Glen High School. School board members, within these critical moments of our lives, how often do you try and be a good person? How often do you truly seek justice where it is needed? When do you decide to make things right? As I stand before you tonight, for me, in this country, this is an often occurrence. It took 22 years to finally build a school to replace Southwestern Elementary in the Holland community. There are certainly many opinions as to why it took over 2 decades. And one thing I will assert, building a school to support school children in the southwestern section of Nansemond County was right, just, and fair. But what was puzzling then and remains puzzling to many of us today, why remove the name of Southwestern that is synonymous with a legacy of achievement? We continue to hear and see a section of society espousing Make America Great Again. When reviewing greatness, that is Southwestern. When we think of the legacy of success at Southwestern, it dates back over 90 years. Excellence in Educational Leadership and Instruction Awards, military officers, STEM professionals, elected officials, professors, educators, award-winning farmers, entrepreneurs and master craftsmen, state athletic championship teams, a diverse student body, a united PTA, outstanding community support that even happens today at Pioneer, a standard for other elementary schools in our city to follow. School board members, as leaders, too often when things are working, instead of tweaking, some wish to start anew for political gain. Southwestern, it was working. Its foundation from 1922 that began as Nansemond County training remains a firmly planted tree producing great fruit. Akin to the strongest tree in the world, the Balboa tree, which is known as the tree of life, with good reason. It can provide shelter, clothing, food, and water for the animal and human inhabitants of the African savanna regions. Southwestern did the same for over 90 years. And I asked the school board to have the name of Southwestern return to its rightful place, so it once again can return to our community to continue producing bountiful harvest for our city, our state, our country, and the world for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Next, we have Algie Howell.
Good evening, Madam Chair, honorable members of the Suffolk School Board. It's an honor for me to be here tonight, and I feel honored that you took the time to go through this discussion here tonight. I know you won't go through it tonight, but I feel honored that you took the time to do it. 64 years ago, June to be exact, I graduated from the Nansemond County Training School. My class, 1956, the graduating class of 1956, was the last class to, was the first class rather, to serve in that building, Southwestern building, that was later changed to the elementary school. I had the honor of serving on the Norfolk School Board, and I understand the situation that you're in tonight. Making tough decisions are not easy, trust me. As I looked there at Dr. Buck, I think I got it right?
Yes.
And I did my practice teaching back at Booker T High School in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of the top students in that class. You could see it then, and when you see how successful that she has been, it's something to be admired, Dr. Buck. You know, the world that we are living in now is a good world. And people like to say that the world is in shambles. But the world is not in shambles. It's the people, us, who make the decisions. I think sometimes to do what's right is not always the easiest thing to do. I had the honor in the 1960s to serve and march with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And one of the things that he said to us, and I'll never forget, that some people don't like making tough decisions. They don't like it. He said, but anyone who sees injustice and does not speak out against it is in bad shape. You are not that group here tonight. This school board is not in that position. When I think about the fact that and I'm wearing my ring tonight, This is my 1956 ring from Nansemond County Training School. That school, Nansemond County Training School, that was later changed to Southwestern, it did not bother me that that name had changed to Southwestern. But what does bother me is the fact that that diploma that I received from that school, only 16 people graduated from that class in 1956, 16. There's only 7 of us living today, 6 girls and 1 boy. I'm the last boy. Some of you may have remembered Colonel Wardell Baker. He passed about a year ago. He was the president of that class, and I was the vice president. But as I look back over that school, I have the diploma, as I told you, but that diploma that I got from Nansemond County Training School, which was later Southwestern, is more important to me today than the Bachelor of Arts degree that I received from Virginia State, the master's that I received from Hampton University, and the honorary doctorate degree that I received from Norfolk State. I'm asking you, it's in your power, to change that name back to what it should be. It should have never been changed in the first place to what it is. There are hundreds of people that feel the same way that I do, and it has nothing to do with race. There are many whites who feel this same way. When I was serving in the General Assembly, when Chris Jones was there, a Republican, and some others, I was able to get, I think it was $150,000 to help resurrect Nansemond County Training School. And ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks ago, when I rode down that road, and I looked over at what's nothing now but some bricks up there, blocked up, and that $150,000 was supposed to have been used to help resurrect that building, but it's not. That building was older than Southwestern. That's the building that I graduated from, Southwestern. But when I ride by there now, I don't see nothing. Southwestern is gone. Southwestern was a better looking building than the old building was. I can't understand why that sometimes when we see things that's right, and we say, no, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do something else. I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart for the love that I still have for the city of Suffolk, the time that I spent there at that school, and Pleasant Grove, for which none of you probably even know about. That was a one-room school. That was the first school I attended, Pleasant Grove. Keep in mind, had it not been for that school there, Nansemond County Training, which later became Southwestern, Hannibal E. Howell, a medical doctor, I believe he was the second black to graduate from the University of Virginia Medical School, I think he was, I'm not sure about that. You have all these great people. One of them sent you a letter tonight, Bill Copeland. Enum Copeland sitting here now. Dig down in your hearts. I know you have good hearts. I know you do. And do what's right. Rename that school back to what it should be, Southwestern Elementary School. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Next, we have Tim Johnson.
this one. Madam Chair, Dr. Buck, other members of the school board tonight, appreciate you letting us speak. I've never stood on this side. I haven't been over here for quite a while. I'm here tonight because my constituents are here and the people that from the Holy Neck Borough. I've probably had as many phone calls from both sides on this issue as any in quite a while. I want to raise a little bit of a different concern, though. The concerns I'm hearing tonight is that because of the Nassau County Training School and the Southwestern School, we want to maintain that name. But I honestly thought that there was something bigger that we were hoping for to represent the Southwestern School and the Nassau County Training School. I'm concerned that this is not really what these folks want. They think it's what they want, and renaming that school, it should have been done 7 years ago when we did it, if that was the case. It's going to squelch some of the things that I thought we were going after as a community. But that being said, Southwestern was a fantastic school, no question about it. Nassau County Training School was historical. I've just thrown my notes in the floor, guys, because I'm not using the notes I wrote. But I'm just going to talk for 2 minutes. Wonderful schools, but also in that same borough was Holland High School, Holland Elementary School. They were my schools. And I feel equally as much about that as these folks feel about their schools. We all love our schools, and we have such memories of them, and we've had wonderful schools in this city. But back at the time this school was named, we keep forgetting it was named Pioneer because we were bringing all of these communities together. We were closing a school in Whalable unfairly. Robertson, in my opinion, we should have kept a school there, but we did. We closed a school. Holland School had burned down a few years before, but nobody even talked about naming it Holland High School, a Holland Elementary School, which is the community we live in. And that's why we came up with the name Pioneer. It's what I was told. The road coming out by the school is an excellent name. It's on the Harold farm. Maybe we should have named it Harold. But my point being, it's just a name. I am concerned about what everybody has talked about tonight. I think it's wonderful, and if we can remember the past, so be it. But what about the present? This school that sits there today, it is a jewel. There is so much pride in that school. I don't want to lose the name Pioneer. I think that we would be a little remiss if we just changed the name of a school. And what kind of president are we setting for the future as well? I just don't understand. Nobody's come to me and said, this is what we really, really want to do. The people that have called me and says, don't let them change the name of my school. I'm okay with it. You can rename it Southwestern. It's going to be the same wonderful school it's always been. It's not the school. It's the people that are in that school. And I hope as the community goes, if this is what the community truly wants, I hope we're not losing something by changing the name of this school to Southwestern, because Southwestern Nassau County Training School is something much bigger. I have been unable to get the things done I'd like to do there. It's all about money, but there's no reason the community can't raise the money. We still own the property. There's lots of things we can do in the future. I just don't want to see this community make a mistake with this. So that's let me look back at my notes for 2 seconds. That's my take on this. I completely changed. My first response was going to be, I didn't even tell you who I was, I'm sorry. Tim Johnson, 3203 Holland Road. I've lived here my whole life. I love the Holland community. I love all of my community. My community knows that. I went to Forest Glen. I went to Forest Glen when we first integrated. We had the most remarkable times. We didn't have problems when I was in school because we got along just fine. Everybody loved everybody, and I got some of my classmates here today. My point being, though, we are a strong community, stronger than the name of a school. But just like all these other people, I'd like to see us do something with the Nassau County Training School name, the Southwestern name, something that matters for this community. Personally, I don't think that's just renaming a school. But if that's what everybody wants and that's what you guys deem to do, it's not going to hurt that school. It might hurt the kids that are down now that love that school, and that's what we need to think about are the kids. But we've got so much going on in this community. I wish the Lord you'd done this way back when or after the pandemic, because right now the community's looking at us saying this is what they think's important, and it is important to these folks. But we've got lots of things we need to be doing in our school system. And as a council member, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be here speaking, but I do have to represent the folks that live in my borough. And with that being said, think about it. You've got a tough decision to make. Do what's right for our community, for the Holland community, for the Southwestern community, and do what's right for the city as well. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thelma Hinton.
Good evening. Madam Chair, Vice Chair, school board members, and attorney. My name is Thelma Hinton. I reside at 2210 East Washington Street on the east side of Suffolk. I served on the school board from 2009 to 2012. At that time, myself and Chairwoman Byram, and of course, Mr. Enoch Copeland. We all, Lord knows, I feel your pain. We dealt with that pain with 2 school board members. We was at tug of war concerning Whaleville and Southwestern. I got called into redistricting in 2012. I came off in that December. What had happened, Dr. Mike Nebraska asked me to serve on that naming of the school, naming of that committee. And I'm going to tell the truth, and the truth will set me free. And I want you all to please listen. What had happened at that time, I gave the name Pioneer. I was the person. There was others from that community. But what had happened was this: when we're talking about fairness, I've been hearing that injustice. I said this to Mr. Riddick, to Ms. Jenkins, and others, and Ms. Story, and others as well. When you have a committee, you need to be fair. And the fairness is this: you do not bring in more to overshadow one community and one get less. It need to be equal across the board. And we had to come with a common ground. I came to this board 7 years ago. I was off the board, and I spoke. I had on my red blazer. At that particular time, Dr. Buck and Mrs. Byram and the other school board members, even though Mr. Copeland, they all was present. And I said to them at that time, let us do what is right, what is fair. Let me share something else with you. I am a person, when I serve on the board, I followed the rules of city council. They gave us one pool of money and said that we had to consolidate both schools, which was Southwestern and Whaleville at that particular time. So I say this to say that I understand, God knows I do. We lost East Suffolk School on the east side, near East Suffolk Recreation Center. And as I've heard the talk, as I go to various stores, I have seen some of the Holland citizens as well. And yes, you all was promised. I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Riddick early part of the summer concerning the Nansman Training School, and I guess what the city had promised them. But again, somebody dropped the ball. And again, the fairness of it, to me, was to come with a neutral name. And of course, even if you say, hey, guess what? I have the power to do what I want to do. But you still could never replace Southwestern because it's not on the same soil. It's not like Florence Bowser. When I was on the school board, I fought for Florence Bowser, but they wanted to close it back at that particular time. But I do understand your pain. But to me, to close it up now, it's really unfair. And the fairness, again, that I would say that I believe is to keep the name as it is. And, you know, the history of Southwestern, yes, something needs to be done. At the particular time, also, we was told, the Attorney Waller could tell you, we wanted to name a name of a person. and when I was on the board, and they said no. Even Kings Falk High School, during that time, Mr. Tamlich Darden had passed, and they said, no, we're not gonna name no names. So when I heard of Colonel Cherry being named, I was like, they done changed something, because we was told that we couldn't do that, you see. And so to me, look at this. We just had an election. In 2 years from now, who knows, the musical chair could change. Are we setting a preference that every 2 years or every 3 years that another group can come in and say, hey, guess what? I want to change it back from Southwestern to Pioneer or whatever. What we're doing, and again, I think I love the peoples and I understand the roots, and I really and truly do, because I'm an African American. But I do feel as if though there's something in Holland, in Holland, needs to be name of the Southwestern, but to take the name from Pioneer after 7 years, to me, it's really not fair. And like I said, Mr. Riddick and all the whole board, I served it on the committee. And I'm going to do exactly what the chair and the vice chair said. I'm not going to call names on who served on that board. It was unfair and it was unjust to the people in Whaleville. May God bless you and heaven smile upon you.
Next, we have Harold Falk. Harold Falk. Falk. He's coming. Okay.
To the school board chair, Mrs. Barham, vice chair, honorable school board members, I am Harold Falk, representing the Nansman Training Southwestern Alumni Association, and I thank you for giving us the opportunity to come out and express our opinions about the desires to change the name of Pioneer to Southwestern. Our organization has been partnering with Robertson Elementary and Southwestern, and now Pioneer, ever since we've been organized. We've made no difference in our support to education, because that's what we are about. We're striving to continue to promote strong educational roots here in the southwestern part of the city. And the name Southwestern represents the community. It was the last school of the old era that existed in Holland. I started school at Robertson. I ended up going to Southwestern, which every student that went to Robertson Elementary eventually went to Southwestern to graduate. And those that didn't went to East Suffolk. So Southwestern was the end of the road for you receiving a high school education. I'm a second generation from that community. My children were third generation. My children started at Kilby Shores, went to Holland Elementary, ended up at Southwestern, where their father graduated. Certainly, we have continued to bring forth a good, rich heritage, not just for Nansman Training, but for the entire Southwestern community, the southwestern portion of the city. We are not trying to deny anyone anything. We're just bringing hope to the community. We'd like to continue with this idea of education being the most important, And many of our desires had to be canceled because of where we are located. Lack of funds. That's been the struggle of many of the minority schools. Where you're located and lack of funds. At this point in time, as I review our history, many great people have worked diligently from the Holland community on both sides, from Whaleville on both sides. Our organization represents both communities, Whaleville and Holland. And due to the fact that it was the last school, we represent Holland Elementary. Now, Southwestern is only going to continue to be great because we have great people in those communities who are striving to continue to promote the education of our children, the future of continuing to move Suffolk forward and making it one of the best cities in the Hampton Roads area. I thank you for the opportunity to come forward before you, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to our concerns. And in the end, we pray that you will give consideration to changing the name so that it continues to promote the educational success for Suffolk Public Schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Falk. Madam Clerk, there are no others? No one else has signed up? And so I want to thank everyone who came out this evening to give their concerns. I want to thank Mr. Copeland, who I served with for many years and admire very much. I want to thank Mr. Howell and all of you who came out to speak. I think I know everyone who spoke. Thank you, Ms. Hinton. And thank you for your time. And the board will take this information and we will discuss it. And at a later date, there will be a decision made. Thank you very much. This is the end of this public hearing. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to ask if we could recognize those persons who came in support that didn't sign up to speak, if they could just stand, if that's permissible.
Yes. If you came in support, stand. You. We adjourn. Thank you. Yeah.